What's up, everybody? Nico Dwyer back for the 10th inning, giving you another episode of This Day in Sports History. In yesterday's episode, we saw New York Met pitcher Anthony Young lose a record 24th straight game on his way to 27 consecutive losses. We don't have anything like that today, but we have a plethora of activities to get into. So before we do, if you all enjoy this video, leave a like on it. If you're new to the channel, you like what you see, hit that subscribe button. Let's get into it. This Day in Sports History. We start out today's episode in 1897 at the Wimbledon Championship on the women's side. Blanche Bingley Hilliard wins her fourth title, defeating Charlotte Cooper 5-7, 7-5, 6-2 in 3 sets. With this victory, would end up winning her fourth of 6 Wimbledon championships and the fourth of 6 single majors in her career. We move up 7 years, but we stay at Wimbledon in 1904. On the women's side, reigning champion Dorothea Chambers defeated Charlotte Cooper 6-0, 6-3 in straight sets. This would be the second straight and second of 7 overall Wimbledon titles for Chambers and 7 single majors. Now we move up just over 30 years to the British Open. Alf Perry, with a score of 5 under, wins his only major title, 4 strokes ahead of runner-up Alf Bagham. 4 years later now, we move to boxing, and one of the greatest boxers of all time, and no stranger to this channel, Joe Louis, wins via technical knockout over Tony Galento. This technical knockout came in the 4th round, and this would be the 7th defense for Louis. And as Louis would go on to say later, Galento got into his head like no other person. So, because of this, Louis punished him. Hell, he probably could have beat him in the 1st round if he really wanted to, but he punished Galento before he finished it off for good, getting the victory in the 4th round. Now we move back to golf in 1953 at the US Open on the women's side. Betsy Rawls, with a score of 6 over, wins on an 18-hole playoff, 6 strokes ahead of runner-up Jackie Pung. This would be the 3rd of 8 overall majors for Rawls. 5 years later in 1958, we stay at the US Open on the women's side. Mickey Wright, with a score of 2 under, wins her first of 4 Open titles, 5 strokes ahead of Louise Suggs. Wright would become the first player to win the US Open and the LPGA in the same calendar year, and this would be the 2nd of her 13 majors. Also in 1958, Nancy Ramey swam the world record 100-meter butterfly in 1 minute, 9.6 seconds. She would end up breaking her own record just over a year later, and she would hold on to that record until 1961, so a combined 3 years for the records. Now we move back to boxing in 1966. Ernie Terrell defeated Doug Jones in 15 rounds to retain the WBA heavyweight title. Now we move up to 1971, and we have probably the greatest boxer of all time. This time though, in the US Supreme Court case of Muhammad Ali. The U.S. Supreme Court, with a score of 8-0, unanimously overturned the draft evasion conviction of Muhammad Ali that was upheld by the 5th Circuit. That's the reason it had to go to the Supreme Court. There's much more to get into on that whole Ali situation. That's just a very quick synopsis of it though. Now we move to 1994. In rugby, Jonah Lomu becomes the youngest ever player to play for the New Zealand All Blacks at only 19 years, 45 days old. By being that age, he broke a record that stood since 1905. He actually said later that game that he was a little too inexperienced for professional rugby. Kind of showed him that he was, but he would get better. He would become a superstar. Now we have one of the biggest trades, I'll say, in NBA history, not because it's necessarily one of the biggest names. It's not a small name, but it led to a championship and maybe one of the most, I'll say, over-talked about, quote, dynasties of all time. In 2007, Ray Allen was traded to the Celtics, as well as the rights to the 35th pick of the draft, Glenn Davis, for Delonte West, Wally Szczerbiak, and the rights to the 5th overall pick, Jeff Green, to the Seattle Supersonics. This trade came just over a month before the Celtics would trade for Kevin Garnett, and with that three-headed monster of Ray Allen, Paul Pierce, and Kevin Garnett, the Celtics would defeat the Lakers in the 2008 NBA Finals. The same day Ray Allen got traded, we moved to the MLB, and Craig Biggio becomes the 27th member of the 3,000 Hit Club. On the day for Biggio going up against the Colorado Rockies, Biggio was just a hit machine, going 5 for 5, becoming the first player in the game where they get their 3,000th hit, going 5 for 5. And his 3,000th hit would be a single off of Aaron Cook for his third hit of the day. He didn't necessarily join it in style, but also he did get in 5 hits on the day. Not only 98, 99, but 3,000, also up to 3,002 overall hits. 2 years later, we go to the greatest closer in MLB history. Mariano Rivera joins Trevor Hoffman as the only 2 members of the 500 save club. Mariano came in with 2 outs in the 8th inning, got out of the inning when the Yankees had a 3-2 lead, and not only did he get the save, but in the top of the 9th inning, Derek Jeter got walked to bring up Rivera while the bases were loaded, and Rivera drew a walk to get his only career RBI. Rivera would end up getting the save while the Yankees had the 4-2 lead, and he would get his 500th save, joining Trevor Hoffman, who would finish with 601 saves. Mariano finished with 652 saves. Finally, in 2015, at the U.S. Senior Open, Jeff Maggart shoots a final round 65, 5 under, to win by 2 strokes with a score of 10 under over defending champion Colin Montgomery. So there you have it. That's what happened on this day in sports history. If I left anything out, I do apologize. If I mispronounced any names, I also apologize. But I will see you all tomorrow for Nick O'Dwyer and the 10th inning. Everybody be great out there. Peace.